Hey, welcome to the Lifeway Podcast. I'm David Gadbury, the lead pastor of Lifeway Church in Kingfisher County, and I'm so excited that you've decided to join us today. We're just building a leadership community and are glad that you're a part of it. You know, here at Lifeway Church, we really believe in developing leaders and growing people in their faith and discipling people and maturing them for purpose and for intentionality. You know, God created us with purpose and intention, and He has a purpose for us. And so we want to encourage you, be a leader. You know, I have a lot of people tell me, it's just not my personality to be a leader. And if you're a believer, not an option. You know, the Bible tells us that Jesus gave us the ministry of reconciliation because He had the ministry of reconciliation. And what is that? The ministry of reconciliation is to lead people back into a relationship with God. So if that's our role as believers, then we're all leaders. So it's important for us to learn and develop leadership in our lives. So thanks for being a part. Hey, do us a favor, subscribe, like, comment, hit that notification button so you see it every time we have a new episode. And if this is helpful to you and ministers to you, man, please feel free to share it with other people. So today I want to talk to you about something that's very important as a leader, and that is that the finish line isn't the end. You know, finishing well is not about completion, it's about continuation. It's an opportunity for us to grow and mature and continue down a path of excellence, becoming everything that God wants us to become. I love 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. It says, "I've fought a good fight. I have finished the race. I've kept the faith." Now, we all know this was the Apostle Paul at the end of his life, towards the end of his life. And he's just saying, man, I've done it. I've done what God has called me to do. I was faithful to the heavenly vision. I followed through. I finished it. I think it's interesting where Jesus on the cross said the same thing. He said, "It is finished." Man, finishing is important. You know, Philippians 1:6 says, "And I'm sure of this, that He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ." Hebrews 12, verse 1 and 2 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before Him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God." So if you take all those scriptures in context and you really read them and study them, here's what you understand. God is about finishing. Finishing is important. Wrapping things up, following through, making it happen, whatever you want to call it, it's important. We in our culture, and a lot of business leaders and leaders in general, ministry leaders, whatever, we focus and celebrate the start of things. We admire big moments, but God honors finishing. Man, it's something we need to remember as believers, that this is a long journey. That this journey isn't something that's quick. We're not in a sprint here, we're in a marathon. And finishing is important. You know, I ran a race a few years ago, and I got, it's the longest race I've ever run. It was 15 miles, and I got 14 miles of it done, and then became very ill, and I had to stop. But I have to tell you, that bothers me still today, that I ran that race. I ran over a half marathon in very rough terrain. It was off-road. And it was a fun race. It was a hard race. It was difficult, but it still bothers me today that I didn't get that last mile. I just couldn't do it. My body wouldn't let me. So I'm frustrated about it still this day. But the truth is, that's how important finishing is. You want to be able to say, "I finished." You want to be able to say, "I'm ready to continue." You know, finishing is not the end of something. It's the proof of who you are becoming. Anyone can start, but the truth is few people finish. That's just the facts. I mean, look around you. Starting takes emotion, finishing takes endurance. I mean, you have to really get motivated, you really get fired up to start, but it's the finishing that requires getting past the emotion. You have to get to a place where you're just determined no matter what, no matter how you feel, no matter how motivated you are, it finishing itself becomes your motivation. You know, most people start strong, but then they fade fast and they quit quietly. But Paul didn't say, I started the race. He said, I finished the race. I fought the good fight. I kept the faith. These are all phrases that communicate endurance, communicate sticking with it, communicating working it out, communicate finishing what you start. And I'm just going to tell you, it takes a different level of commitment to finish than it does to start. Finishing requires focus, which is something we struggle with in our culture. There's so many distractions, so many things around us that create distraction for us that focus becomes a hard thing. And they're not all bad things. Some of them are good things, but they get us off focus. They take us off our plan, off our purpose. We become reactionary instead of proactive. You know, it's like Hebrews 12 said that we read earlier, lay aside every weight and sin that so easily besets. Now, I want you to look at what it says. It doesn't just say lay aside every sin. It says weights, that there are weights, there are things that are holding us back that we're refusing to let go of. And there are weights in our life. You know, you wouldn't go out and run a race and put weights on to run it. You might put weights on you to train, to give you strength for endurance. But once you start running that race, it would be silly for you to put weights on yourself. That would be silly. But a lot of times that's what distractions become. That's what other things in life besides what you should be focused on become. And it hurts your endurance because you know, I remember reading in my daily communion with God the other day, I remember reading about when he was given Israel the 10 Commandments, he said, do not move to your right or to your left, but stay focused on me. Keep your eyes on me. And it's very important for us not to be distracted. Some of us aren't stuck because of sin. Some of us are stuck because we're carrying things that God never asked us to carry. I want you to think about that a minute. I want you to be introspective today and maybe ask yourself, am I doing some things, involved in some things, carrying around some things that God never asked me to be responsible for? And is it costing me in those things that I am responsible for? You know, distractions, offense, comparison, busyness. These are things that can become weights to us. They may not fall into the category of sin, but they can definitely pull you down, slow you down, and cause you to fail to finish. You don't finish well by adding more. You finish well by letting go. You know, I work with a lot of leaders today, and especially in the church, I work with a lot of pastors. I work with a lot of believers. And this conversation comes up a lot. And it's funny how committed we get to our distractions, how committed we get to things that are weights that are holding us back, how committed we get to offenses and to things like that. And when the questions come up about how to let it go, it is amazing to me how hard it is for people to let go of things that are holding them back. We have to admit that it's actually happening. We have to admit that we're holding on to it. We have to admit that it's necessary to let it go. We have to admit that we've purposefully been holding ourselves back without maybe even knowing it because we refuse to let go of things that are holding us back. Let it go. Always remember that God finishes what he starts, and God is He's the best part of this picture, right? You know, when Philippians 1:6 says that he who began a good work in you will complete it to the day of Jesus Christ, always remember that God is not halfway committed to your life. He wants to finish. He wants to complete what he started in you, but it's up to you and me as to whether or not we'll allow him to. Even when you lose momentum, God still wants to help you finish. Even when you get discouraged, God still wants to help you finish. Even when you drift and even when you fail, God still wants to help you finish. He doesn't quit. The question is, will you? You have to remember that your confidence is not in you. Yes, you need to be consistent, you need to be disciplined, but that's not what your confidence is in. Your confidence is in His faithfulness, that if you'll go there, God will stay with you through it to the end. You know, finishing strong is a daily decision. It's not a monthly decision or a yearly decision or anything like that. It's a daily decision. You don't finish strong at the end. You finish strong today. You choose obedience today. You choose discipline today. You choose faith today. Finishing is built into our daily reps, our daily obedience, our daily following Christ, our daily denial of self. When we get into this place of consistency in our Christian walk, man, it starts building endurance in us. So some of you today may feel like you're falling behind. You haven't, if you'll just get up and get going. You're still in the race, and as long as you're still in the race, God's still working on your behalf. So here's what I want you to do today. Some questions to ask. Ask yourself, what have I started that I need to finish? Ask yourself, what do I need to lay down so that I can run better? And then ask yourself, where do I need to trust God again? These are important questions. And I think if you sit down and write out the question and leave yourself some space to write in the answers and really think about it, I think you'll come to some conclusions. And I think those conclusions will help your progress and it'll help you along your journey. So the goal isn't just to start strong. The goal is to finish strong. And we're not just talking about a year or 10 years or 50 years. We're talking about your life. And finishing your life strong is a daily activity. I want you to remember that. We sometimes forget that this Christian walk we have is daily. Jesus said in the Word, He said, if you want to follow me, if you want to be my disciple, deny yourself, take up your cross daily, and follow me. It's not something we do casually. It's not something we do every now and again. It's daily. And so I want to encourage you to finish strong by doing daily what is necessary to finish well. And here's the good news. The same God who started working on you, He will finish it. Thank you. Go out and live well.